In our world, everything is possible. You can be who you are. You can show your true you. You can sing. You can dance. You can achieve. Yeah! Acceptance is everywhere. Possibilities are endless. And every creative dream, every style, everyone can simply express their deepest dreams, their truest stories. A creative world in harmony. Harmony 20. Dare to be you, dare to create.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live Harmony 20 demo. If you don't know me, my name is Derek, and I'm the community manager here at Toon Boom. I'm joined by Harry, our technical software sales specialist.
Hello.
He's the one who will be walking everyone through today's demo. Today's demo is mostly just it's a hyper-tuned intro to Harmony, and also I look at the new features of Harmony 20. So if you have any questions about Harmony 20 or Harmony in general while the stream's going on, please ask us. I will be gathering the questions and answering what I can through chat, and anything I can't answer through chat, Harry and I will be tackling at the end of the session. Basically, what's going to happen is Harry's going to walk through a demo, show everyone what Harmony is, and then at the end we'll be doing a Q&A. With that said, Harry, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to take you through Harmony 20. So I'm going to be talking about the new version of Harmony. But for those of you who have never seen Harmony before, I'm obviously going to talk about what Harmony can do in general, and then focus on some of the new features as well, just to make the point here. So first of all, I'd like to say that Harmony comes in three iterations, right? It comes into Essentials, Advanced, and Premium. I'm going to talk about Harmony Premium today. That's the one which has all the bells and whistles, and it is the one that is used by all the major studios around the world, but as well as hobbyists, freelancers, universities, schools as well. And I'm going to also be using the Harmony standalone version or offline version. We also have an online version, which is server-based version of Harmony, which is again used into large studios for larger productions. But essentially, once you open one or the other, it's exactly the same. So let's start Harmony now. One of the things that we like to start with is to remind people that Harmony is well known for its vector engine, but also that we've been having very powerful bitmap engines from a while back, and we keep improving on that. So you can work in both vector and bitmap. It's also important to note that as you open up Harmony, you can set your own resolution of your project. You can go all the way to 8K if you want to, or even more. And this is, of course, more relevant today when big streamers or broadcasters require you to work in large resolutions. So we're making sure that you can do that with Harmony. So let's open up the software, and the first thing that you'll look at is the fact that your user interface can be customized in the way you want to work. Generally, when you work within a software like this, you would focus on a certain task. For example, whether you are just drawing or just compositing or just animating. Obviously, you can do a lot of the different things, but if you wanted to focus, we have different workspaces. We've got default workspaces available. If you go to Windows over here and Workspace, you'll see all the different workspaces available for you there. And same goes for things like preferences and keyboard shortcuts. You've also got a whole bunch of things that you can customize. You can save these as presets, and you can go about your way, keeping that with you everywhere you go. You'll have the same presets as well for both preferences and keyboard shortcuts. So let's go on and show you straight away what the drawing tools look like. So I'm going to pull in something from the library here. I will talk about the library a little bit later, more in detail, but let's go through the different drawing tools here. So the first one that I'd like to talk about is the bitmap layer. You've got obviously brush tools available, bitmap brush tools available. And if you go into, let's have a look at the line itself here. As I zoom into the line, you'll notice that it's pixelating. That's the nature of bitmap. But it's got a nice texture to it, a nice look to it. And those textures, those settings can be modified inside of the tool property window here. In the brush properties, you can see you've got a set already of textures available to you. These textures can be imported from outside the software. You can create your textures inside of Harmony and save them as a texture for you to use or to share with the members of your team. And you can do a whole bunch of things here. For example, change the maximum size, as you can see at the top there, the preview, to make a nice taper for the line. So, and you can combine that with the pressure sensitivity of your pen if you're using a stylus type pen or Wacom type pen, and you've got many functions here that you can change. You can change the hardness of it. You can change the spacing. So as you can see, as I do that, it changes the texture, spacing over there, the randomness of the size, of the angle, of the spacing. And if you've got one of the newest pens, it can even use the pen rotation function of the pen or the pen tilt sensitivity of the pen. So to give you as much power as possible. A lot of different options here as well, transparencies, anti-aliasing on and off. You can, if you want to, have two textures and combine two textures together to make it even more complex, and also bring in a paper texture behind the line. And again, all of this can be made outside of the software, and you can import them as presets. All right, so those are the textured, the brush, the bitmap brushes, and you'll probably be very familiar with those if you've used other bitmap softwares. Let's move on to the vector technology now. And if I go onto my vector layer here, you'll notice that this time, if I go close to the line, it's a crystal clear line over there. And if I go into the tool properties, I've got similar type of properties available to me. Let me just go to the vector, solid vector there. And I still have a whole bunch of options, just like I had before for the bitmap brush. So you'll notice that this particular line, if I go in and select it over there, it's got some information on the outside of the line, for example. If I select it like that, and I can change the line like this, just as I would a normal vector, a vector line. I'm sure you're familiar with that. What we can also do here is, even if it's a brush line, we can go and still modify the direction or the center line of this line by selecting what we call the centerline editor. Now, the centerline editor has been there before, but in this version of Harmony, we've improved this tool by you can add points to the centerline, as many points as you want, and you can also remove now points from these lines as well, which was not doable before. And we can also change the smoothness of the center line. And remember, this is a brush line, not a pencil line. Again, if you're familiar with Harmony, now you can change the center line smoothness of a brush line. So that's a great improvement within Harmony 20 there. Let's move on now to the next type of vector line. And this time it's the textured vector brush. So, if I choose the brush over here and I go into the properties, I'm sure you saw it a little bit, a sneak peek of it just now, is in the brush type here, and remember this is vector, in the brush type here, I can go solid vector, but I can also go textured vector. And now I have all the different options, texture options that I had in my bitmap brush as well. And the same choices, transparency, smoothing. I can put two textures. I can put paper texture, etc. So all of that is there, but it's still a vector line. So let's have a look at that. As I go in, you can see it's pixelating, but I am selecting now the contour editor, for example, and you'll see that I modify the contour just like I would a vector line, because it is a vector line with a bitmap texture inside. And again, that's really, really useful to have that option. Okay, let's move to the next set of tools, is what we call the pencil. Now the pencil is slightly different. It looks the same, slightly different than the brush in that it actually has a center line information, not necessarily the contour. So it has the center line, and you can modify that center line, of course, by changing its direction. Or that I'm picking up something else there. By changing, the direction of the line, and using the Bezier curves to change the direction of the line itself. But it's got great advantages using the pencil, because you can, after the fact, after you apply the line, you can change the size of these lines. So for example, if you've got an animation where the character is very close to the camera, and the line is very thick, now you can automatically set the lines to be thinner as it moves closer to the camera and thicker as it moves away. And you can do that with the center line, with the pencil lines. So for example, here, I can select all my lines and go into the properties and change the size of these lines. And you can see all of them are changing there. But not only I can change the size, but I can also change the taper of that line. So I'd select it and I go here, and you'll see there's a lot of taper options here. So for example, I want it to be thin and thick and thin, or thin and thick, or all kinds of different iterations which are already here, but you can obviously create your own, keep that as a preset, and then share that amongst your team, or keep using it throughout your project as well. And as if this wasn't enough already, we have one more thing to show you, is the textured pencil. So let's combine all of that, shall we? And we look at the fact that now this pencil line has got a texture as well. So that reacts the same way. You can change the size, you can change the taper, and you can, even after the fact, change the texture itself after it's been applied. So let's have a look, for example, if I were to change all of these together. So I can select all of them together and change it, let's say, to this, or to that, or to that. So, you don't have to redraw anything. You can change these textures after you've already applied the drawing there. The pencil line is very useful for many reasons, for its speed, for what it can do, for its flexibility, but also people like to also have the option to change the contour of the line and go back to a brush line if necessary. So for instance here, what we've done is we've improved in Harmony 20 the option of converting a pencil line to a brush stroke. So for example, here I'm selecting my pencil lines and I am going to go to over here, I'll go to drawing, convert pencil line to brush stroke. And you'll notice that it's done that and it's conserved the texture as well. So if I change that, let's say to something like that, and let me just go, let's say there, for example, and I do the same thing, I go over here and I change it to a brush and it's conserved the texture, which we could not do before. So now you can do all your drawings, your cleanups with the pencil line, with or without texture, and you can, if you want to, at any point, convert them back to brushes, and it will conserve what you've done there. A couple more improvements we've done here, and these lines are quite thick, but that's okay. Is the fact that we've also added what we call an autofill. So let me use, for example, and this works whether you're using a brush or a pencil, texture or no texture. For example, here, if I were to draw the pupils, I can go into the options over there and put this on, which was already on actually. This is the button here, autofill. And now you can go, for example, and sorry, let me just put this off for a second, because that's for later. And I draw around the pupil like that, and you'll notice that as soon as I'm finished drawing that, it should actually fill in the thing, which is not, because I'm not actually closing the line like that. So you can see as soon as I close the line, it fills in with a color. I can change that color. I can make sure that my line is black, for example, and then the side is red, for example. And I can do that like this, and you can see the line is black and the inside is red, or whichever color you've chosen. By the way, you don't have to do it like that. So that's a really great thing. That's a new feature in Harmony 20. Okay, the other thing as well is let's have a look at look at this feature here. So you'll notice that something new as well in Harmony 20 is we've always had alignment guides. We've had them for a while, but now you can actually snap your drawings to the alignment guide. And you can very easily do that by, so let me just select tool here, I'm going to maybe move away all my characters here from the side because they're too close. So I'm going to select this character, and you can see as long as I have this feature turned on over here, snap to alignment guides over there, the second one, then it will snap to my alignment guides. And it will do that, by the way, while you're drawing as well. And also do that if you're using the bitmap layer as well. It doesn't make any difference. It also works with bitmap and vector at the same time. So that's a new improvement in Harmony 20 as well. Okay, let's have a look at cleanup now, because this is a major process of your animation, obviously, or not just animation. You could be designing a character, a prop, a layout, a background, and you would be doing some rough drawings first, and then you would clean it up. So let's try do that. What we're going to do is we're going to turn on the light table like this, and we're going to get closer, and we're going to start drawing. So I'm going to use a pencil line, make sure that it's a little bit thicker, like that. And I'm going to start tracing, and you'll realize something very quickly here is that I can't really draw very well at all, and my line is not smooth. at all here. So, Harmony can help you with this in a couple of ways. First of all, you can turn on the smoothing of the line into here, line smoothness, and change that to center line smoothing over here. Or you can change it after the fact if you want to. But you can also use a feature which was here since Harmony 17. It's the stabilizer. So the stabilizer, you can put it on average first, and you'll notice here that this is my screen here. I've got from 0 to 100, 100 being the maximum. And let's say, for example, I can start with, let's say, 25% there. So let me just go down to about 25 like that and start drawing. And you'll notice that my line is a lot more improved, but I mean, I'm still quite shoddy at this. So I need a lot of help here. I'm going to increase this all the way to maybe, 50% or something like that. And you can see it's drastically improved the smoothness of my line, even though I would still not hire myself for this one. And the other option you have is average, either the pulled string option. Now the pulled string option, as the name indicates, looks like a pulled string. You can see there's a little string, I'm sure you can see on my screen. And as you, the string becomes tight, it draws, and you can just go down like this and make tight corners. And that's what's really powerful about the pulled string, is the fact that you can make very tight corners and pointy corners there to do your cleanup or your clean drawing. And that again works with the brush, with bitmap, with texture or without texture. You can use these things to help yourself. So I'm just going to turn that stabilizer off because I tend to leave it on and then I forget. We also have very quickly the ability to draw in with different other tools. You can, I invite you to explore all of the tools we've got here. But the ones I want to tell you about are these, because a lot of people like to draw and especially clean up with these types of tools. Now, the polyline is something that is very popular and used in this way, which I'm sure you are very familiar with. And this is a pencil line, so it's got all the properties that I've spoken about earlier about the pencil line. But you've also got the line tool, and I'm going to just go over here. So the line tool is fairly straightforward. You know what it is. It just makes lines like this. And people sometimes really, it's a very popular feature to use this in such a way that to clean up. And for example, what you could always do is draw the line and then hold down Command or Control on your keyboard and curve the line like this, and then you release and the line is curved. Now in Harmony 20, we've added the curve mode specifically for the line tool. So that allows you to, without having to use a keyboard shortcut, you can actually create the curve straight away. So you draw the line, and then without pressing anything, you release and you make the curve, and then you click a second time. And then, it creates your curve, your nice curve like that. And then we've also added another one called the S curve. So now you can create two curves at once. So you can click, drag, release, and it curves the first time around. Click a second time, and now it makes the second curve like that. Or again, over there, and there, and there. You see, so you have the ability to do that. And we know it's a very popular way of drawing or cleaning up drawings, especially when it comes to certain parts of the world that really love to use this. And now it's available here with Harmony 20. Okay, so those are, in a nutshell, the drawing tools. I mean, we're going to touch on a few of them again later, but let's actually take these away Let me just take all of that away. And then we're going to move on to the next step. The first step of an animation that normally you would bring a storyboard into your scene. Now, we've got a storyboard over here. Let me just delete the guide there. We've got a storyboard over here in the form of a template. And as you bring the storyboard, you'll notice the animatic is in here. And it's got a nice, very simple animation of the camera moving away. And you see the little otter do her thing there. Very cute. Cool. So this also proves that, within Harmony, you have a camera system, and you can obviously manipulate the camera, locate the camera wherever within the space. So let's talk about layout. Typically, you would create your layouts either in Harmony or Storyboard Pro, if you know Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, or more typically inside of Photoshop. And within Harmony, you can import a PSD. So let's go and go find a PSD. It's already selected here, but this obviously opens up your browser and you can go and find the file that you need. And this has got several layers into it, and you can import them as an original, keep it as an original bitmap, or convert it to a Toon Boom bitmap drawing or a vector drawing as well. Now, we've improved this tool now in Harmony 20 to allow to keep the layers, even if you are importing it as a vector drawing or a Toon Boom bitmap drawing as well. It will still keep the layers when you do that. So let's leave it as a Toon Boom bitmap drawing, and we'll say okay here. And yes, we want to create individual layers. And yes, we want to keep it straight for now. So bear in mind that your blending modes, if you've added blending modes within Photoshop, for example, your blending modes will be kept, when you import your PSD over here. So now you'll notice that I've got all my different layers. I can select them. I can move them around, and I have access to all the different layers here in my timeline. And, I can change them, resize them, modify the drawings, etc., etc. And it's really, really easy to do that. I also want to talk about, before I move on, I want to talk about another big improvement in Harmony 20, and that is the color space management. Now, in broadcasting or in even gaming, there's sometimes color profiles that you need to respect, depending on the nature of your production. And so what we've added here in Harmony 20 is the ability to natively, within your scene, work within the correct color profile that your project dictates. By going to the scene settings and color space over here, you can change your color profile of your production at any time, and make it the one that is required by your production. Or you can also preview a certain color space, or color profile, by rendering your scene and, for example, choosing a different color profile here. So you could go and check out what Rec 709 looks like, or Rec 2020, which is probably one of the mostly used out there at the moment for HDR. And so you can preview these right in here within Harmony 20. And then also worthy note is that when you export the file, let's say to a movie, you render your final movie, you can also set that movie to a different color space than your working scene, because by default it will keep it to the scene working color space, but also you can change it to a different one if you need to do that. And similarly, you can also embed the default color profile of your scene into the bitmap, a bitmap that you would export out of Harmony. So for example, if you work in Rec 2020, you can export a PSD file or a Targa or a PNG file with that embedded within that file. So that's a very big improvement, and it's again to future-proof your production here within Harmony. So we're going to keep the animatic, we're going to keep the camera movement there, and we're going to bring a multi-plane background that we've already worked on inside of here. Let's have a look here. You'll notice I'm going to move our animatic to the side, and you'll notice it's the same background, but there's something different about it now, is that as I move the camera, you'll notice that you can see already some parallax beginning to appear. So for those of you who are not familiar with parallaxes, if I go into the perspective view here and I zoom out, you can see that my scene is entirely 3D within Harmony. Now, you can move then any object within this 3D scene, and we've moved a few of them away from the camera. And that's, one way of explaining the parallax is that some of the objects that are close to the camera move faster than the ones further away from the camera. And you can obviously have this effect natively here inside of Harmony. If I show you the camera here, you'll notice straight away that the camera is there, and you can see how the camera is animated inside of that scene going forward and back there. I mean, it's a simple movement for now. Let's actually move in closer, and maybe I'm going to just manually move the camera so that you can appreciate this parallax effect a lot better like this. You can see now how things are moving properly there. So it's important to remember that we've got a fully 3D environment, and we'll touch on the 3D aspect of it a little bit later again. And here, if I put my animatic back in the center, like that, you'll notice that it's in between a couple of layers. So what we're going to do now is bring in, doing some rough animation, some traditional animation. Now, I'm not going to take you through me animating anything, because otherwise I don't think you'd very much like that. But what we're going to do is I'm going to bring something. So let me just delete the animatic here. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. That's it. And I'm going to bring the rough template over there. And you can see straight away that, I mean, you can't see it much there, but you can see that the animation is there in between my this element there and the other elements, in my entire scene. So my scene is starting to look like something a little bit more interesting there. So let's actually hide. I'm going to hide the multiplane, and I'm even going to stop, the camera movement there, so we're not disturbed by that. And you can, but it's still there, by the way. You can just switch it off and switch it back on at any time. You don't have to change that. So here we go. So obviously Harmony is an animation software. So I'm sure you'd be expecting that we can do some animation in there. And Harmony has got long history of traditional animation. So our traditional animation tools are very, very strong and something that we keep improving in here. So you'll notice, for example, there that this otter is drawn frame by frame. It's roughly drawn at the moment. I'm not going to take you through the cleanup process because I've showed you some of that before, but this is typically where you would start drawing your cleanup on top of your rough animation. And as I do that, one of the things, a couple of things that I want to show you about traditional animation is the fact that you can mark your drawings, within your animation. So for example, the first frame here would be a key pose, right? So you could then use this tool at the top here and mark this drawing as a key pose. like that. So if I select that drawing and mark it here, and you'll see that there's a little red mark on the timeline there indicating that it's a key pose. And let's say, for example, frame 30 would be the next key pose, and I go there and I mark it again, and there it is there. Maybe somewhere in between would be my breakdown pose, and I would mark it like that. Why would I want to do that? Well, I can always animate between just the key poses and the breakdowns, and use that as a tool. For those of you who are still wanting to use an exposure sheet, you can very much do that. We have a full exposure sheet over here, and all the drawings can be exposed or changed or removed or renamed from the exposure sheet, which is something that you can see there. For example, that this drawing number 14 is a key pose. Number 1 is a key pose, and it's marked in the X sheet as well. So if you want to use that feature, it's very much available to you as well. Obviously, a very important feature within traditional animation, or animation in general, is what we call onion skinning. Now, the onion skinning is the ability to see your previous and your next drawings as you would on paper, and you would flip between pages of animation to see your next and your previous one, or the current one and the previous one, to make sure the animation is correct. So our onion skin tool can be very straightforward, where you would choose here, for example, what you would want to show by maybe choosing the range. Let's say you want to only show a couple of drawings, but from the timeline here, you'll notice that I can extend that range maybe to a lot more drawings. And as you can see, it's showing more drawings there, previous or next as well from there. And I even have another tool here, which is called the Shift and Trace tool. Now, the Shift and Trace tool, and you see it's even got for traditional animators the peg holes at the bottom there. The Shift and Trace tool allows you to momentarily move a certain drawing to just match and see if my drawing is at the right proportion. I can even, if I want to, rotate it. So, for example, I want to make sure that it's there, and I want to match it to that drawing, just to make sure that it's the right proportion, it's the right sizes. And I can do that just as I would normal pieces of paper. And when I'm done with that, I can just reset my Shift and Trace. And that doesn't affect your drawings at all, by the way. It's just temporarily, just to see how things look, and if you want to, if you need to change your drawings or not. So that's really, really practical there, the Shift and Trace tool. All right. Let me talk to you a little bit more about the onion skin tool, because we've got over here, we've got an actual onion skin tab right there. And the onion skin tab gives you advanced options for onion skinning. For example, so if I activate this advanced feature, you can actually choose which drawings exactly you want to show. Maybe you want to show only every second drawing like that over here. Maybe you want to show only the key poses, the breakdowns. Maybe you want to show not by frame, but by drawing itself. Maybe you want to change the color of the next and the previous drawings, or simply change the transparency of all of them or some of them, because you don't want them to be too opaque, too visible. So there's a lot of options available to you here with the Onion Skin Advanced tool. All right, now let's have a look at a cleaned up version of our little otter there. Let's go into the library over there, and we're going to delete the rough and bring on the clean like that. And if I put on, let me put on the, you see there's my multiplane background, and my character is evolving in this environment like that. I'm going to switch this off again because I'm going to now show you the color tools. Okay, so again, if you're familiar with Harmony, this is something that you've done before, and so forgive me if it's repetitive to you, but for those who haven't played with Harmony, I think this is something worth talking about for sure. Is so when we apply a color to a drawing, you've got the ability in Harmony to devise your drawings into several layers. Generally, we recommend that you separate your drawings to at least 2 layers. Your line art on one layer and your color art on another layer. Okay, so if I, for example, select the otter here and I turn on my color art, you'll notice that I can, if I go into my drawing view, I can activate only my color art. And what the color art looks like is it's invisible strokes right underneath my line. And my color will then go and fit itself exactly on that invisible stroke. And so I should actually color everything onto this color layer. But we also have other layers which you can use for many other things. We've got an overlay layer, we've got a line layer, color layer, and the underlay layer as well. And all of that just gives you a lot more flexibility and power to your animation at any stage. So let's start by painting this. So obviously within Harmony, you know, we also advise that every single character or every single even prop or background, an object has its own palette. And each palette obviously should have the colors. And they should all be nicely labeled and you should know which they are. So for example, we want to use the otter fill over here and start filling our otter. However, we can also use a color model. So I'm going to open up the model view here, which is a model view tab. And I'm just going to load this color model, which I have previously saved. And you can see now my otter's got all the colors that I need right there. And as soon as I go onto that view, it changes to a color picker. So, and as I pick that color, it's going to then pick the right color for my model. And then I choose my color tool. I can use my paint tool over here, choose that color and start painting just simply by doing that. Okay, and I can move to my next drawing and start painting, you know, again. And, you know, I keep filling up the paints like that. So if I go back here and do that, and sometimes you'll find that there are certain regions like here actually that are not completely closed, so it will not paint. Well, that is something that you can change automatically, and you can go into, for example, the close gap area, and you can do an automatic close gap. So for example, I can go to medium here and see if it's gonna, here we go. As you can see, it's already closed my gaps automatically for me. So I didn't have to go in and manually do that. Although I could, you know, I can go in here, and as you can see, I can see that clearly there's a gap there. And so then I can go to the close gap tool and then just manually close that gap. So I can do that. I can even go and draw a stroke tool if I want to. There's a stroke tool and I can draw any area which will be an invisible stroke as well if I wanted to do that. And then if I also have another tool called the Paint Unpainted tool, which is my personal favorite. In fact, I use that one all the time. Is, you know, instead of Paint Unpainted will not, as the name indicates, paint areas that are already painted. So let's say, for example, I want to use this paint this big area here. I select the right color and I just draw an area around that, and it just covers and paints that area like that very quickly for me to do that here. So obviously this one has got that, and I can do that here very quickly. Okay, but I want to be quicker than that. I mean, animators, I don't want to offend anyone here, but we always try, or animators always try to find the quickest way to work, right? Efficiency is everything. So one way of being very efficient here with color is to activate the onion skin, all right? And maybe see a lot more drawings before and after. Wait, come on, grab the handle like that. All right. And then what I would like to do now is make sure that I think there's something wrong here. So let me make sure. Okay, let's do that rather. Okay, I couldn't see. So let me activate all of these like that. There you go. So now you can see, I should be able to see quite a lot of my drawings there. I even want to go all the way like this. So I can see a lot of my current drawings and a lot of my previous drawings as well, like this. And what I would like to do now is I would like to paint a certain area over several drawings, because I don't want to I can't be bothered to paint them frame by frame. So what I'd like to do, I can do that. I select the drawing tool. I'm going to select my color, and I'm going to go into my tool property, make sure I choose apply to all drawings like that. And then I just draw a line, let's say along the line where my drawings are going to be in my next and previous drawings. And as I release, it has painted them on all of my drawings. Some of them maybe have made mistakes like here, but that's very quick to fix. But at least you don't have to go frame by frame. Let me take the onion skin off and paint those all manually like that. So very quick to do that with the apply to all drawing tool. Right, so let me now bring in the finished version of this. So the ink and paint version right there. And here it is. Here's our lovely otter as we animated. We can see, let's put on the multi plane background so we can see our full there. So there's our otter animated in its environment like that. Great. So what we would like to do now is I'm going to show you how easy it is to change a color if that is something that you want to do. So very often, the art director or yourself chooses that, you don't want this color. This color actually doesn't work out very well, even though your animation is finished, it's all painted, all the frames are painted. Well, no problem. You just make sure that you're using the right color, obviously. So you pick up the color that you want to change. That's it. That's that one. And then I'm going to go into that color pot over here. Double click on that if you would want to do that. That's it. And then I can change the color. And in real time, on every single frame where I've applied that color, it's going to change that specific color pot. I have a lot of choices. I can go multi-wheel, if you want to go crazy. You can change hue saturation values, RGB values, alpha. You can make it transparent. You can change it to gradient if you want to. There's a lot of different options there. And you can do that really, really, really quickly without having to now unpaint and repaint something. It's very easy. But what if you wanted now to, add maybe a underwater effect to this otter, because now she's underwater, but she's also out of the water at some point. So you want the option of having both palettes. So we can very easily do that. We're going to actually clone that palette over here, and maybe I'm gonna call this water there and say okay, and then I'm just going to bring that one up like that, and then I'm going to change not just one color but all of the colors. So I'm going to go into the tint panel. I'm going to show you a preview so you can see what we're doing. I want to change all the otter pictures, colors. I want to do a blending. and I want to add a little bit of blue, increase the amount, maybe a bit of green as well. And as you can see, that's pretty cool. Let's say that's the underwater color that I need for my otter. Great, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to apply that change and then close this window. And every time I want to use this palette, I use it like that. And every time I want the other palette, I just switch to the other palette. It's that simple. So every time the otter is outside the water, we can use this one, and inside the water, that one. And it's that quick to change the palette there for our character. And you can also gradually switch between one palette to the other. And that's something we can talk about a little bit later in the compositing side of it as well. Okay. The last thing I wanted to show you about traditional animation is the fact that I showed you the X sheet earlier, that some people like to work in the X sheet, but other people also like to use the timeline. And you can activate the thumbnails within the timeline and make them as big or small as you want to. And within the timeline itself, you can actually increase exposure of certain frames, decrease exposure of certain frames, move them around. It will obviously ask you if you want to rename the drawing or just reorder it. You can do a whole lot of things inside the timeline itself, by activating the thumbnails with this little button over there. And you can do that for every single one of your layers, obviously. Okay. I think that's it for traditional animation. Let's now move on to cutout animation. So cutout animation is also known as puppet animation. And because obviously, as the name indicates, instead of drawing per drawing, you're actually creating a puppet for your animation, and then you animate the puppet itself. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. And if you're familiar with Harmony, you know that Harmony's got a great rigging engine. It's got a great cutout animation engine. And so, what does puppet animation look like? If I select these different elements here, you can see that my hand is separate from my forearm, which is separate from my my upper arm, for example. That's typically what the cutout characters look like. And if I go up the hierarchy like this, I can animate it in forward, what we call forward kinematic, which goes from there down. And I can then also select, let's say, for example, that, and go like this and animate it like this. So that's all very standard stuff. You've seen this before. Obviously, all of that is available within Harmony. But we also have other ways of animating cutout characters. And that is, for example, by using what we call deformers. Now, deformers have been around for a while in all the iterations of Harmony. We've done quite a lot of improvement on deformers. So this one is a typical envelope deformer, very, very easy to use. You can deform any object like this, whether or not it's got some kind of texture. You can see there's a gradient in this one, works pretty well. So if I want to deform the jaw, to animate the jaw, I can just use the deformers to deform that. And it's very easy without having to redraw the drawings. I can also go show you other deformers on this character. For example, the hair. There's another deformer here. There's another deformer there. So there's quite a few in this specific character. The one I want to show you and talk to you about, though, in this session are the new features within Harmony 20. So we've got very exciting deformer new features. One of them is what we call the weighted deformer. Now, what is the weighted deformer? You'll notice over here that we've got a deformer there, which is actually a weighted deformer. And you'll notice that when I move here, you'll notice that the textures really follow the deformation really well. It's not crystallized inside of that region. And that's what the weighted deformer allows you to do. It's actually, for those of you who know Harmony already, it's actually a hybrid between the freeform deformer, which we introduced in Harmony 17, and the envelope deformer as well. So it influences a region around these points, and which allows you to really give you quite a lot of flexibility in how you move and animate with textures. Okay, so this brings me now to the node view. Now, the node view is something that, for those of you who use Harmony, I'm sure you absolutely love. It's something that is very powerful. Everything that you create inside of Harmony is represented by a node, and you can then attach things together, combine things together. This is really great for rigging, and rigging means creating your puppet character and like the skeleton type, putting things into parent-child type of relationship inside of your puppet character. And it's a lot easier to do that in the node view, trust me, than to do that in the timeline. So the node view is really powerful that way. And it's, of course, also very powerful for compositing. And you find those in different compositing softwares as well because of that. So, for example, let's go inside the node view for this specific piece here, and I click a shortcut, and it takes me directly to where that is, and that gives me, to show you what the node view looks like. Let me make it slightly bigger. I don't want to scare anyone, but this is actually really well. Really pretty clean. I know some people that might not think so. So you can make this as clean as you want to. We've got different tools to improve your node view, but you can really, really organize this really well. As you can see, like the mouth is over here, the nose, eyes, the head, the ears, the hair, all of that's down there, and it's really, really easy to find yourself over there. So let's have a look at what this deformer looks like. So again, I'm going to select this guy and get closer to it there and zoom in to see where it is. So here it is. Here's the weighted deformer attached to this element over there. And I'm then going to, that's what the weighted deformer looks like here. Another new feature in Harmony 20 is what we call a deformer on deformer. Now, what is that? Now, it's really exciting because for a long time, artists have been asking to be able to apply a curve deformer on an existing envelope, for example, deformer. Because, you can deform this shape like this point by point, but what if you want to change the entire shape, with a curve? Now, this time you can actually do that. So I'm going to show what it looks like to you now. Let's have a look at this here. And here it is. So now this is my curve on top of my deformer, my envelope deformer, and you'll notice that as I move the curve, I can change my entire, position there. I can change all of this, and I can change the curve to it as well as going inside the deformer, the envelope, and changing the points on my envelope, or in this instance, my weighted deformer. And it's very easy to do on other pieces as well. So for example, if I go here, let me just, okay, there you go. If I do that, I want to maybe apply it to this particular deformation here. I'm going to just click on there, and it's allowing me to create my curve straight away. Oops, like that, boom, and it's done. And that's it. So now I've got I can go over there and you can see, let me just make sure that's all I can see there over here. Okay, so I now have the ability to see that and modify these points as I want to, like that, and move the curve as I want to, like that, as well as moving the points on my envelope deformer. And it's that easy to create these ones there. But more improvement on the deformers is over here. So here you'll notice that we've got a deformation on the ear, and we have this one working really well. So we've got the earring over here that as I move the ear, it moves pretty well. But if I move this point, for example, then the hearing now suddenly does not move anymore. And if I move this one, it also doesn't move. So it's got a kinetic output here, but it's not sufficient. I would have to do quite a lot of moving about to make this work. And this is what was available before already for us. So now we've improved this greatly by adding different types of kinetic points. And this time, you'll notice that if I select this guy and I now move it, all of these rings move very well and with every point there, like that, every single point of them moves. And you'll also notice that as I move that, this one is changing scale, all right? This one is changing its rotation a little bit, and this one is changing both. So we've got different types of points here. So let me select these points over there and bring up the controls. And you'll notice that if I move closer, especially, you'll notice that this particular earring, it's the first kinematic point here. It's got 1 point. This one has got 2 points there, 2-point kinematic output. And this one has got 3 points over there, like that. So now you can control, you can add those to your drawings so that they can be affected in the way you want, whether in 3 points, 2 point, 1 point. And now your deformation works a lot better by combining these things together. So that's a really cool improvement inside of Harmony 20. Another way of animating is, which obviously is not entirely new, is what we call constraints. This is something that some animators really love to have. And again, all of these tools, by the way, are made so that it's easier for you to animate and quicker for you to animate. So for example, I'm going to select the foot here and I'm going to go up the hierarchy. And you'll notice that if I select, for example, this part, I can move the leg like this. And that's a constraint that we've put in place so that, you can do some kind of inverse kinematic type of animation or handle over here. We can also go slightly higher the hierarchy and maybe move just the leg. So we make sure that the leg is stuck to the ground like this. Or I can also, select over there. Let me just go one more like this. And now was it that? Sorry. One, go up. Oopsie. No, sorry, let me just do that again. Okay, let me go back over here. That's it. And then I can move it. It's the same. So let's go into higher now, and I can move both legs. Okay, so I'm going to move both legs like that, or even higher still. And we're moving the whole body, and now it's got this type of movement there. So that's really, really cool because now the rest of our body is reacting very nicely to this constraint. The legs are stuck on the floor, and it's really quick for us to animate this sort of in this way. So I could, for example, put him over there and then select the leg here. Hopefully this will work now. And I go like that. Yes, that's it. And I'm stretching down like this, and now I can have this really cool little pose there. And it was really quick for me to animate that, as opposed to having to select and move different pieces all together like that. So here, for example, we've got an example of this animation. I'm going to start and stop the animation here and loop it so you can see. And you can see now, well, let me move out. You can see, well, this is, was animated really, really quickly using the constraints. The other thing that you're probably noticing is that the hair is moving, like secondary animation, they're moving in accordance to the movement of the body. And that actually was done automatically with a constraint. It was not animated frame by frame. It was done automatically with a constraint, which you can apply to the hair, and what I can do, for example, is show you how we can switch that on or off. So if I select my master controllers over here, bring that on, and there's my dynamic spring controller. So if that is on, you can see the hair is moving, and there it's switched off, so it's not moving. So as you can see, it's really cool to be able to add these things, makes it a lot faster. All right, now let's have a quick look at something a little bit more advanced now. And we're going to select this guy, and I'm going to bring in another scene altogether. So this gives me the opportunity to talk a bit about the library. I think this is really important because it's something that you're going to be using a lot, whether you're in a production by yourself or in a team, especially if you're in a team. Everything that you create within Harmony can be saved and for reuse later, for anything at all. So for example, you could be creating a whole character, a completely 360 rigged character, which I'm importing now. You can save it. You can save a background. You can save an animation, an entire scene. You can save a portion of an animation. Anything can be saved there. And that's really, really powerful. So library is something that you should look into as well. So let's have a look at this character. You can see that what we've done is we've created different poses for this character. And then we've also added like a complete 360 of this little guy by, creating all the poses and the interpolation between the poses as well. So it looks like he's completely turning around himself there. And what we've done is we've actually now associated some of these poses to a master controller. So that's what I wanted to show you now, is that we've loaded the poses onto a master controller. So let's have a look at that. So I'm just going to show you these. That's it. These are placeholders, reference placeholders to show you what the master controllers will look like. And I'm going to show you the master controllers there. Select all of them. So again, master controllers are not new. It's something that's been around for a little while, and but it is it's greatly improved, and every time and every iteration brings its improvements. So here you'll notice that this guy has got, for example, a grid master controller and slider master controllers. People in the 3D industry might know this very well as well. So for example, here we've got a simple turnaround. We loaded all the poses of the turnaround onto the slider to allow the shark to turn around, and it's very easy and quick to animate that like that. We also have this one here, which allow you to move the character back and forth like this. Really, really cool. We can play with the eyes. You can see there, as I move this way, opens the eyes, closes the eyes. If it goes this way, it changes. And you can see that, all these poses are loaded, and you're able to like interpolate between them like that. This is really, really powerful, really great to be able to do that. We've also added, I mean, for those of you who are interested in scripting, we've also added something new inside of Harmony 20, which is called the function wizard. Now, the function wizard allows you to create some kind of some master controllers, some simple, some not so simple, some advanced, but it actually allows for people that are not, into scripting to create something straight away inside the function wizard. If you do know scripting and you are into scripting, and obviously, let's say for example here, I want to choose a checkbox widget, and I want to choose, for example, not the blinks, but I want to, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select my whole shark here and go to the function wizard, and it's taking the shark, and I'm going to choose a checkbox widget, what type of operation I want, toggle attribute, show, hide, enable, disable, show deformers. I'm just going to do a simple enable, disable node like this. And then, so that my drawings will switch off if I want to with that controller. And you can see that automatically the script is already here. You can go and modify that script if you want to go advanced. You can copy that and save it somewhere else into a scripting editor and change it later. It's really, really great to open up to scripting there. But if you don't know, then let's just name this. Let's just call it shark activate like that. Yeah, I can spell. And then I say, okay. Yes, stop composites, fine. And here it is. There is my shark activate in my node view. I'm just going to put I'm going to move it away from there, move it here. That's it. And that's it. So now I can, if I want to activate my shark or deactivate my shark, so very simple with the function editor, the function wizard, which is a new feature in Harmony 20 to be able to add these different types of master controllers. Okay, let's move on. We're going to delete all of this now. And I'm going to bring in the scene. So I'm going to bring in the background first of the scene with the shark, and then I'm going to bring in the shark itself rigged already. Okay, so here it is. I realize that we are running almost an hour. Oh, here we are, over an hour now. So let's try and finish this up. I'm also going to bring in the shark posing over there. So there's the background of the shark, and there's the shark animated, and not animated actually, in there in the scene, and it's got all of my master controllers. Everything is loaded into here. So let's have a look at my shark. If I select the shark over there, and I put on my all my master controllers like that, and never mind that little thing. And then we can go, you can show these even if you want to see a reference of what you're looking at. And then, I'll just show you how very quickly I can pose this character here. So let's start and go ahead by maybe making him go a bit like, oh no, life is really tough. He's watching something on TV here. Let's make him like close his eyes like that. And that would be, let's say, the first frame, and maybe at frame 20, now something's happening in the TV. So he's like, huh? His eyes are wide open now. He's very interested in what's going on. Maybe he's like, even like opening his mouth wide open like that. And you can see it's really, really quick now with these master controllers for me to animate this like that. Maybe in the middle, I want to add, make him go up like that so he doesn't squash too much. That's it. And if I want to, I can even go and activate motion in between those. So now it's got an in between that as well. Okay, so now it's interpolating the movement. So here we go. So there's, very quickly my animation between frame 1 and 20. I mean, it's not great animation, but just to illustrate how it is for you to be able to do that with the master controllers is super, super fast. All right, let's move on to now compositing. So lots of great improvements for compositing within Harmony 20. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and wrap it up fairly quickly because we are a bit going long now. So you'll see there's a lot of things in here, starting with like color. So let me just, here we go. That's it, loaded. Let's have a look at the scene here. So the first thing I want to show you is the shadows. I mean, this is, everyone likes shadows. Everyone, wants shadows on their character and on their scene to make it more alive. I'm going to select this, activate, then you'll see the shadows are there. And as soon as I render my scene, you can see that then my shadows, that's my previous that's my previous screen, so it's still cached in there. Here we go. There's my character with my shadow. If I want to select, if I want to move that shadow or move to a different frame, I mean, my character, you'll notice that the shadow will follow the character wherever the character goes. And that's something within Harmony that is really, really easy to set up. A shadow is very easy as well. So you go inside, you can go inside of here and you can go inside the shadow element itself and go and modify that shadow at any point in time. So for example, you could add more radius to that. You can go crazy 10 radius and you can see that that will blur the shadow a little bit more. I can go and change the color of that. I can change the intensity, so maybe 1.5. And you can see that the shadow now is a lot more intense. It's really quite easy to do these changes. And by the way, it does not affect your animation, not at all. So it's going to, it's great for you to do that either beforehand and save it as a template so you can load it at any time, or do it afterwards without the fear of affecting the animation and all the work that's been done in the animation. This is a non-linear editing capacity of the node view here at its full power. New effects within Harmony 20 are the color levels, for example. Really great. So the color level over here, let me activate it to show you. So as I go inside the color levels, you can see I can change a whole bunch of things. So what we've done in the scene is that we've made the color of the scene change in reaction to the TV flickering. So the TV is actually flickering. I'll show you the final render of this so that you can appreciate the full scene in motion, but the TV is flickering, and so the levels change of the whole scene because I can go in and change all of the settings here and animate them accordingly. I can go also and change the gamma. This is also a new one, the gamma of certain objects or of the whole scene. So one very cool thing that a lot of us have been waiting for and is finally here is the cast shadow effect. And this time we really improved the cast shadow. We the light shedding effects inside of Harmony 20. So let's put on this and show you what it looks like. You can see as soon as my scene will be rendered, what it will start looking at within the shark. So you can see now that it's got elements within the shark that are casting shadows on other elements. And that's creating this really cool, really beautiful, like 3D-like effect to this shark. And now you can go and modify that in many, many different ways within all of this within all of this effect over here, including changing the light position. So for example, if I put the light position on, you'll see that it's got a spotlight which I can change position, and it will update the shadow for me automatically. And as I move that, let's say to this side, you can see there it's going to cast a shadow on the other side. And I move it over down here, and it's going to cast a shadow over there appropriately. I mean, it's very soft shadows there, but you can see them well by as soon as I move the light position, it changes the shadow position as well. So really powerful. And you can go and you've got lots of options. We've created displays for all the different options here. You can look at the ambient occlusion side of things. You can look at the different channels. You can look at the cast shadow, and there you can actually see. So if I move that, you'll see that the shadows will move as well there. So all of that can be separated, and even if you wanted to, you could then render all of these different layers separately and use them, in different ways, even in different compositing software. So really powerful now, and really easy to create surface. We call surface shading or light shading on there. And another addition as well in Harmony 20, because we're starting to add up here in terms of compositing power, is what we call the pre-render cache. Now, the pre-render cache is really important. And again, this is something that is normally used in compositing softwares, but we've added it here. Is, for example, if you have an effect that is that you don't want to re-render every time you move, or you add another another effect, you want to pre-render that. So you can add this element to, let's say, the light shading effect over here. So now Harmony is going to pre-render the light shading so that wherever you go and however your character moves, it's not going to re-render that anymore. So you'll see that I move my scene and my rendering goes so much faster now, because I don't need to re-render the light shading anymore. It's already pre-rendered. So that's something that you can add to several elements within your scene to make it faster to animate or to composite there. Okay, the last thing I would like to talk about now is the 3D environment. So let me bring in. Oh, before I do that, maybe I should very quickly show you that scene so that you can appreciate what it looks like. So here we go. So you can see it's got the TV flickering. You can see that the gamma here is reacting. The color levels are reacting in the background. All of this was done in Harmony, and obviously you can see the light shading. You can see the animation animated with the master controllers. It's really great as well. So all of that was done in Harmony. All right. Okay, let's go back to this, and I want to now show you the 3D capabilities and how we can import 3D inside of Harmony. So now you'll notice that within Harmony, we can bring in 3D objects, and the objects the format that you can bring is FBX, but we can also bring in a Maya scene altogether. And you'll see in this specific one that you've got a whole Maya scene inside my 2D Harmony scene like that. And the camera is actually moving accordingly there. And you can even see that my character is actually following the camera movement. And that is because I don't need to move too far. You can see that my camera is a 2D, flat. My character is a 2D flat character, and you can see that my camera here, wherever my camera goes, my character is following that camera. And that is because we've got, what we call an auto lock that allows you to always, wherever the camera goes, that specific, character the camera. So as you can see here, the full background is in there, both animated at the same time. I can select different parts of these as well and manipulate these. I can go and make, let's say, select the table if my pen would behave here. It doesn't seem to want to behave. So I can go and select that. I'm just actually going to use my table. There we go. And I can move my table like that. I can select this guy. I can select this guy and move it as well if I wanted to. Like that. I can, select all different elements and move them. So now my table is in front of my character. And if I go into the perspective view, you'll notice that there it is in front of my character there. So in full 3D mode, you can really, really manipulate 2D and 3D in the same environment. And you can animate the 2D and the 3D in the same environment there. And furthermore, I mean, this is something I can't actually show you here because I don't have Maya installed on my computer, but we've also got the ability, we've got this node here called the Maya batch renderer, and that allows you to actually render directly within Harmony. The 3D will be rendered by Maya, and the 2D will be rendered by Harmony and blended together or composited together inside the render view of Harmony itself. And that is really something really great. It's this amazing node that we call the Maya batch renderer, which obviously you need Maya installed on your computer to be able to do that. And it will then talk to Maya, render it in Maya, and display it into your render view over here. And one last thing I want to mention is that when you bring in a 3D object, let's say an FBX, for example, when you import an FBX over here, you have the option, if you want to bring it in as a 2D object. So you don't need to necessarily bring it as a 3D object. If you choose to bring it as a 2D object, you can then use it as a simple, let's say, background if you want to use that, because you've already created this background in your 3D software. So why would you then redo it? So you can just bring it in and render it as a 2D object. Choose the point of view that you want. Choose even the focal length that you want, the zoom that you want, and then you render to the scene as a 2D flat background. And if you want to update it at any time, you can always update the render and change it like that. So you can, if you want to, you can bring in a 3D object as a converted 2D object as well. And that's about it, I think, Derek.
Awesome walkthrough. Thank you so much, Harry. I don't know if we're going to have much time for questions because we were way over time. So what we can do, everyone that's watching, what you can do is actually you can send me your questions or either email them to community@toonboom.com, or you can come post them on our community Discord, which you can find a link to down below. And we'll answer them. Like, we'll take them back internally and we'll answer them, and I'll throw the answers up on our Discord, or I'll get back to you via email. If you have any crazy questions, we're always happy to answer questions about our software. So yeah, on behalf of everyone at Toon Boom, thank you so much for watching today's stream. If you'd like to learn more about Harmony, please click the Harmony logo in the stream info below, so down there somewhere. We also invite everyone to join the Toon Boom creator community. So on our Discord, follow us on social media. Our next stream will be happening this Thursday, June 25th at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be interviewing one of the incredible creators who contributed towards the demo video and some of the stuff that Harry just showed off. I don't know if it was in this video, but there is some stuff that we have to show you guys. And yeah, the demo video you saw today's stream will be covered in there too, some of that stuff. But yeah, take care and have a great rest of your day, folks.
Thanks.